Bowza wowza, holy cowza, what's happening cuz we're live nowza. Hey everyone, Brian Zane here. It is time for the Smackdown live review here on Wrestling with Regret. I'm sorry that I was not here last week. I had to take a week off from the weekly shows. I missed it, but I didn't. Let's just put it that way. I enjoyed the evenings off last week, and I kind of like the idea of making that a semi-regular thing. Just take the week off from Raw and the yellow shows and from SmackDown without a care in the world. Wouldn't that be something? I think people need that reset every once in a while, need that break. But we're here to talk about SmackDown on a night that is very heavily dedicated to the life and legacy of Pat Patterson, who passed away earlier this week. We had a tribute on stage featuring Vince McMahon and Gerald Briscoe, longtime friend of Pat's. I love the fact they let go Briscoe earlier this year and they had to bring him back for the tribute. So that must have been awkward. But SmackDown gets underway with an in-ring interview with the champion, Roman Reigns. Kayla Braxton asking Roman what he believes to be stupid questions like, do you fear Kevin Owens? Or do you use Jey Uso as a pawn? And so, you know, she's the voice of the people, she is. And so Roman's basically, you know, kind of shooting her down, basically saying, you know, stupid questions from stupid people. Kevin Owens appears, though, makes his way to the ring, and, you know, he spent last SmackDown talking some serious mess about Reigns and beating up Jey Uso with the chair and everything. He issues a challenge to Roman, but Jey Uso gets a little too excited. He basically accepts on behalf of Roman, and KO says he wasn't talking to the bus boy, he was talking to the head of the table. He calls for a TLC match at the TLC pay-per-view for the championship, or maybe even right now. Roman with this great way to deflect it, saying, you know, he's a gentleman. There's a lady in the ring. Come on, grow up, man. And so he leaves. And that's the end of that segment. You know, some great mic work between everyone involved. I think it was a great way to start the show. I love everyone's work here, and it sets the tone for what we got the rest of the night. We've got this backstage segment with Reigns and Uso, where Roman says he understands why Jey was so exuberant about, you know, accepting the match, but, you know, there are consequences for everything they do. So some heavy foreshadowing we are seeing here. Got some weird chats, man. Y'all are weird guys, man. Weird guys. Our first match of the evening is Bayley versus Natalya. I love Bayley's new Ding Dong Hello shirt, by the way. It's really cool. Bianca Belair joining commentary for this matchup. It's not very long from what you see on TV. There is a commercial break in the middle of this thing, but the action you see before and after, it's not really all there. Basically, Natalya beats Bayley clean with a sharpshooter, and that's it. That's all you need to know. Natalya, who, by the way, who lost via roll-ups to Bianca Belair last week, beats the former longest reigning women's champion on SmackDown in 100 years, and makes her tap. It's like, why are they doing this to Bayley? Why has she lost so much since dropping the women's championship? If Bianca beats her at TLC, then who will she have beaten? Like, yeah, she's beaten this, you know, established star character in Bayley, longtime women's champion and everything. But, I mean, wouldn't it make sense, or wouldn't it be a lot better for them if Bayley and Bianca both were winning matches? I don't understand why Bayley's been on the losing end so much lately. It can't be that hard. Come on. It cannot be that hard to book a match between two solid people with good records and make it work. That's, I don't know. We get more Pat Patterson tributes. We get a lot of the tweets that show up. And they show off the original Intercontinental Championship, which I thought was pretty cool. Cole dropping a classic Pat joke, which was frequently quoted by other wrestlers, you know, on Twitter when the news of his passing. Hey, do you know who's talking about you? No, absolutely nobody. That was pretty great. We get a lovely tribute package. It's an extended version of the what they dropped on Wednesday night. It's to the tune of My Way, some classic pictures of Pat interspersed with footage of him singing My Way, which was his like standard karaoke song. As a karaoke file myself, I can appreciate that. Really touching stuff, really touching package. We then get the Pat Patterson tribute match. It's a match featuring the Intercontinental Champion and a bunch of former IC champs. It's Daniel Bryan, Rey Mysterio, and Big E versus Sami Zayn, Dolph Ziggler, and Shinsuke Nakamura. I was like, wait a minute, wouldn't it make so much more sense if Cesaro was there instead of Dolph? Turns out he's never been an IC champion, which I forgot about. I knew he was a mid-card champion. I guess he was just US champion. But, you know, it would have been perfect. It would have been very poetic if Cesaro had been a former champ. Then you could have the Artists Collective back together. Come on, folks. Go back in time, make Cesaro Intercontinental Champion, so when Pat Patterson ultimately kicks off, you can have this six-man match and it makes sense. It's simple. Big E, by the way, has a brand new theme. It's performed by Wale, who's a friend of the New Days, also friend of the show. Hi, Wale, in case you're watching. Good work on that song. He's got the chalk, very reminiscent of his old days at NXT. He wants 5. Really fun match here. Just awesome workers doing awesome work. In the end, Bryan hits a small package on Sami Zayn to win, and Michael Cole calls it the old Pat Patterson quick one. Like, is that one he took ownership of? Was that like something he did a lot? Was the surprise roll-up win a trademark Pat Patterson finish that he concocted a lot? Because let's just say it's been overused a lot. Afterward, we get this really weird like house show spot. Like this what we saw here came right out of the house show, where we think the heels are going to run back in the ring. No, the faces run back in the ring, and we get this thing where Shinsuke and Sammy both leave. Dolph is by himself, tries to play nice, tries to do the yes chant of the high fives, but he hits a big old atomic drop from Daniel. Dolph slowly falls into the ropes, sets him up for a 619, and then Big E hits the big ending, and that's that. So, good match, and then like this, I assume the finish they had there must have been also some classic Pattersonism. Like, everything felt like it was by design to be a tribute to him. So, to have that finish there after the match, it's so unlike them to do that on TV. It felt like a house show moment. That made me laugh as well. Backstage, we see Kevin Owens interviewed. He says he used to look up to Roman, but now he's changed and calls him despicable, calls him an arrogant jackass. Kalisto bumps into the shot. This is really kind of like anything can happen in WWE. We're live, pal, where he barges in on his phone, and there's this awkward, funny exchange of the two of them where like KO compliments his fedora. He's like, what's that? It's your hat. Just like deadpan. I thought it was pretty good stuff. So then KO starts to mimic the asshole chant. He starts kind of like do the That's what he's trying to describe Roman Reigns. And then Otis walks in and joins him. Otis is the most articulate I think he's ever sounded, like ever in a promo, where he talks about how he wants to join Kevin in bulldozing through Reigns and Uso. And then we go to probably the low point of the show, in my opinion. More so, I think, than Bayley tapping out clean to Natalya in like 5 minutes of the sharpshooter in preparation for her big pay-per-view match. We have Carmella and Sasha Banks in a split-screen interview, clearly done in the same room, just opposite ends, because they were just, bam, right on top of each other. It's like looking into a mirror with this one, because these two act almost identical in this thing. It's like you're looking at the same person. Is Sasha a face or a heel? It doesn't seem to matter to them in WWE, and it's really hard to tell. Carmella clearly being a heel here, but Sasha is so full of herself and so just like nasty toward Carmella back. It's like there's no difference between now and like what she was when she was teaming with Bayley, I feel. Carmella says, her women's title reign was longer than all of Sasha's combined, which is pretty big burn there. Sasha accepts Carmella's challenge for a match at TLC, but warns her Sasha's a bad bitch. Carmella snaps her fingers and her live feed cuts. Magic fingers by Carmella. That segment was kind of hard to get through, though. I don't like either of these characters right now. Like, it was more clear cut early on when Carmella was jumping Sasha, but I feel like Sasha's kind of reverting back to her old character, which was a heel, and she's supposed to be the face. So, in our next match, we've got Murphy versus King Corbin. It's a rematch, because last week, the Mysterio family helped Murphy win. Classic babyface move. But this time, King Corbin Blue has backup, and it's... who the fuck are these guys? We first see two guys in like hoodies under their blazers, which is a great look, and like no one's able to identify them. Like they make a concerted effort not to show their faces directly. You can see some of it, but on my computer I couldn't quite make out what they were. Then after the break they finally say, "Oh, it's Blake and Cutler from the Forgotten Sons. We haven't heard from these guys in months." Boy, I bet they're glad that Jackson Riker really fucked up their push several months ago, huh? They sloughed him off like the dead skin he is, and now they're going to be Baron Corbin's lackeys for a bit. You'll love to see it. Corbin wins after I wrote Gunner and Blake. Blake and Cutler start fighting Rand, Dominic, Mysterio. Murphy's distracted. He eats the End of Days. And once again, King Corbin, the former Lone Wolf, surrounds himself with lackeys. My God, you could make like 3 or 4 stables with the guys that Corbin has surrounded himself with in the last couple of years. Like, who we got? We got Lashley, we got Drew McIntyre, we've got Blake, and we've got Cutler, we've got Rude, and we got Ziggler. That's 6 right there. And like, I'm sure there's a few more I'm forgetting, but I feel maybe you can, as a secondary thing, Heath Slater, for those like 3 or 4 weeks he was a referee against his will or something. I don't know, but you can. It's you can make a super group out of the stuff. But yeah, it was weird how they tried to present them at first, where it's like, who are these randos? And like, oh yeah, it's these guys who've been like part of our company for like the last 6 years. Oh man, yeah, Blake and Cutler can't catch a break. We got the Street Profits doing their exposition speech. Bobby Roode and Cesaro come from either side to try and talk trash at them, but the Profits point out neither of them are champions, and they're all yelling at each other as we wrap up there. So it seems to be setting up Street Profits, Rugler, and Cesaro and Shinsuke at some point in the future. In our main event, Kevin Owens and Otis takes on Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. They keep bringing up Kevin's history of like turning on tag partners. Will this happen again? Will these two, work out? At this point, if it does, if a tag team turn does happen, it's going to be at least 3 or 4 weeks after this, when they abandon Kevin as a babyface and turn him heel again. Jey makes his way out to the ring, but Roman Reigns is nowhere to be found at first. Seems to be punishing Jey, leaving him high and dry. But then, like a minute or two later, we've got Roman showing up finally. It's very reminiscent of like The Rock and how he would save his partners on SmackDown every week in tags, where it's like it was always the first guy coming out, beat down, if you smell, boom, 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 and then he comes in and makes a save. It's different now, but it's similar. So anyway, Reigns wants to finish the match, but that distraction allows Kevin to recover. He hits a stunner on Jey, but Roman comes in as the illegal man, locks in the guillotine, and the family is disqualified. So Roman and Jey beat the bejesus out of Kevin Owens with the chair. Jey with a big top rope splash onto Kevin with the chair in between them, which looks like it hurt them both pretty equally. And then Roman beats the hell out of his own cousin Jey with the chair as further punishment for him speaking out of turn like he did earlier tonight. And so then we get Roman grabbing KO by the beard and with some really big threats saying he's going to take away his manhood at TLC and everything. I really had a hard time understanding what he was saying, but he sounded very mean, sounded very angry when he was doing it. As he faded to black, just more deviousness by Reigns here, showing just how cruel and evil he can be. And I think everything they're doing with Reigns has been a home run. And I can't think of a heel in the last 3 years, except maybe for Brock Lesnar, but that one doesn't feel as powerful because he was so infrequent in his appearances. I can't think of a full-time heel in the last 3 or 4 years who's been this just explicitly evil and such an asshole and very unlikable. Nothing outwardly cool about him or hip. He's fun to watch, but in that kind of it's kind of a wild card kind of way. And so I think that's really cool. And so, yeah, I'm digging what they're doing. I still do. Before we go to the grade of the SmackDown review, thank you so much for those who are watching right now. We're at 228 people watching right now. Thank you very much, by the way. Before I go to the grade, let me just lose the grade real quick. Let me lose this part really quick. I do want to just quickly plug my latest venture. Many of you might have seen me talk about this months ago, but I didn't really know how to distribute it until now. I'm finally selling it just in time for the holiday season. My children's book that I wrote, Pro Animal Wrestling, A Guide to Pro Wrestling. Take a look at that cover right there. It's written by myself and illustrated by Jorge Uribe, who goes by Captain Marvelous on social media if you want to find him there. And so, yeah, this is the book that I wrote. And it's basically, I'd say this is probably for 3rd to 4th grade reading level and above. And it's got 30 plus pages, many of which are full color pages. And it's basically a fun little romp explaining the rules of professional wrestling in a way that, kids can understand it. It's for kids and adults alike. And it's got a bunch of colorful characters, animal wrestlers. It's very imaginative, and they talk you through everything. And there's even a glossary in the back with some definitions, some match types, and the rules and all that stuff therein. So I'm really proud of this book. This has been selling pretty well since I made it an official on Monday. I have less than half my inventory left. I've got at last count, I have about 20 copies of this book available. It's $15 in the US and Canada, $20 everywhere else, and that includes shipping. So if you want to get on this, you got to email me, wrestlingwithwregret@gmail.com. Be sure to let me know what country you live in so I can send you so I can charge you accordingly. And yeah, then I just mailed out a couple dozen of these books today, and so I'm sure I made the people behind me in the line at the post office very happy for that. But yeah, Pro Animal Wrestling, A Guide to Pro Wrestling. Go check that out. And if you're interested, if you got a young wrestling fan in your life who wants to learn a bit more of it in a fun way, then go give me some money and you'll get this book. It's as simple as that, just in time for the holiday season. And with that in mind, it's now time for me to pull up the Giggity grade. There we are, B-. As usual, the Roman Reigns, Jey Uso stuff is a humdinger, and Kevin Owens getting involved too has been pretty good as well. And the six-man tag was the best match of the night. Yeah, again, it's great workers doing great things. I'm not trying to pick on the women's stuff, but I feel that has been the weakest stuff across both Raw and SmackDown over the last several weeks. And so, don't mean to pick on them, but that's just the fact, in my opinion. The facts, in my opinion. What a contradictory statement that is. But yeah, I didn't care for the Carmella Sasha stuff, and again, seeing Bayley kind of being chumpatized the way she's been the last few weeks, and it's not going to help her going into TLC, and I don't think it's going to help Bianca Belair either. If Bayley beats Bianca at the pay-per-view, then yay, good for her. But like after everyone she lost to, it seems kind of weird. I think it's going to be Bianca's night, and I'll do predictions later on. But yeah, it's unfortunate how they're being treated, because I tend to like a lot of the female talent across both shows. I think they're generally pretty great at what they do, but the way they're being treated and the way it's being booked is, let's just say, counterproductive, in my opinion. That's going to do it for the review portion of this. We got 16 minutes. It's 16:50. So that was a pretty good time for that. Now's the time where I read the super chats. Let's see here. Actually, one thing I'm going to do before I read the super chats, I have one thing to plug before we get into that. Now, last month, you might have seen my live stream where I did a live riff of Just Another Romantic Wrestling Comedy with Colt Cabana and April Hunter, and that worked out so well, it makes you want to do it again. And so, how can we top such a terrible movie in romantic wrestling comedy? Well, you find one that's just as horrible, if not. That's right. The old chestnut I reviewed earlier this year is getting the live riffing treatment. It's Ultimate Deathmatch. And I'm going to be doing a live stream riff watch-along with it with my good friends, happening December 17th. It's on a Thursday at noon Pacific on this YouTube channel. It will be live, and it will be televised, or YouTubeized. It'll be me, Matthew from Botchamania and Cultaholic, and my special guest is going to be Ethan HD, who not only starred in the film as Azul, he's also a former Defy Tag Team Champion. That is a Washington-based indie fed. Good friend of mine. I've known him for many years in the indie circuit, and really happy to pick his brain a bit and get some insight into just what was going on with that shit pile of a movie. It is a fundraiser for Feeding America, so all of your super chats during that live stream will go directly to Feeding America. And yeah, so check that out, Thursday the 17th, 12 noon. It's going to be a laugh riot. I can't wait to relive that terrible steaming pile of a movie again, but at least it will be with some funny friends. So that's that. And, oh, you lose the grade too. We don't need to see that. Let's read those super chats. Let's see here. Starting with That's not the first one. We're not starting with him. He's the second one. Starting with Tyler Joseph Smith. He's the first and the second. $3 super chat. Sasha Carmella segment was so cringe. Bad acting. I don't think it was bad acting. It was just repetitive acting. It was like, if there was any kind of fundamental difference between Sasha and Carmella in that one, I might have gotten more enjoyment out of that. So, that's my take on it. Tyler Joseph Smith again with a $5 super chat. Big E still dancing, wearing New Day gear. His new shirt has the New Day logo on it. Why even break them up? Was it for pure shock value? Very lazy and disappointing, yes. You know, I don't know. You could argue that with Big E and Kofi and Xavier all still wearing the New Day gear, it's like the New Day, they live on in all three of those guys. But they're not, but Big E's not the New Day anymore. He's just Big E. And so Kofi and Xavier still get the Big E, or the New Day entrance, I should say. I mean, I think there should come a time where he is able to strike out and, like, truly be separate. I mean, we got a bit of that. Excuse me, we got a bit of that with his new theme tonight, which I think is a step in the right direction. I don't have a problem with him coming out with New Day gear still. I mean, God, Roman Reigns dressed at the Shield for all the years the Shield broke up, and people had a problem with that. But I think that with Big E, it's for me personally, I don't have a problem with it. But I think they need to, like, really commit to the breakup of New Day, because, like, how many times since they broke up have they been on the same show together? We even saw it at Survivor Series. They came out together doing the Gears of War thing, which is fine. There's a marketing reason behind that, and I get why they did it. I think it was a cool moment, but that's like within like a month and a half of them breaking up. They've already been on the same show like 2 or 3 times since then, and they need to really kind of commit to that breakup and keep it going. So I still believe that a New Day breakup long term can be fine for all 3 members, but yeah, maybe do a little more to separate them, I guess. W. Stein 79, $2, asking, do I think Sting will jump to Impact with the Joker face? Since they seem to have this partnership now, we don't know the extent of it between AEW and Impact. I think it'd be great if at one point Sting just shows up in Joker makeup and then like leaves. I don't think that will happen though, because I feel that Sting is he's got way too much gravitas based on that segment we saw on Wednesday for him to do a kind of a throwback kind of thing with the Joker Sting makeup. We will see, though. I don't think he wants to go back to the Impact Zone, if I'm being honest. Like, he just left there. It's not been too long since he left the Impact Zone. I don't want to see him back in the Impact Zone for his own sake. Niall Witherspoon, $9.99. Do you think we're heading toward Roman versus Rock at WrestleMania 37? I say this as if I know, but I would hope that they would wait to pull the trigger on this until they have a live audience. It doesn't have to be a packed audience, but if there's word that they're trying to bring people in as early as the Rumble for live attendance, then, and if they can keep going with that, then yeah, like, let them pull the trigger on it in Tampa at WrestleMania and have them do that. Like, it needs to be done in front of live people. It cannot be wasted on the Thunderdome. I've said that before. So if they can get even some people to show up, then then I think it could be worth it. And I think that, yeah, they seem to be heading that direction. I can't imagine who else they could bring up, who would make sense from a money standpoint or a draw standpoint more than Roman and The Rock. That just makes the most absolute sense, but I hope they do it in front of people. That's all. Dylan Woods, $5 super chat. Who does Sami Zayn drop the Intercontinental title to? I wouldn't be surprised if he eventually drops it to Daniel Bryan, because based on what we saw in their match last week and how the 6-man ended tonight, I can definitely see them continuing to build that. I don't know if Daniel will win the title first go round, but I wouldn't be surprised if he won it back at some point. I guess it depends on how many shows they can get him to commit to. So yeah, that's all the Siggity super chats for now. Let's see here. I had a lot of people in the comment section, both in this stream and last night or 2 nights ago for Wednesday Warfare, talking about Pat Patterson and why should we pay tribute to him and all this stuff, like because of his allegations of abuse and everything in the decades past. It sucks. He couldn't shake those accusations. in life, and based on what I'm seeing on commentary online, I don't think he's going to escape them in death either. And ultimately, I think only God can judge him, and he will meet his fate in the hereafter if he did what people say he did. I think it's one of those things where at the time, the day he died and the day the news came out, I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to be the person to say, well, actually, because it's really hard. It's really complicated for WWE to be in that position because there is that cloud hanging over his life, and I think that's going to be something that kind of follows him forever. But it's like I don't know. You feel they're kind of in a position where they couldn't Benoit him. They couldn't snooker him. They couldn't disregard him for his contributions to WWE and to wrestling. And I know that's a real cop-out sounding thing. It's to separate the art from the artist thing, basically. And I don't know. The fact that he was only accused and he was probably the least involved sounding of the three between him and Mel Phillips and Danny, Terry Garvin. Got my Garvins mixed up. But I think, it's like all we heard was just accusations. Nothing was really proven, and I know that's kind of like the whole crux of the argument with me too as well, and speaking out and all that. So I think Pat definitely, he definitely got that scrutiny against him, but he walked away from the company for a while, came back in a diminished role, and again he has that cloud hanging over him, and I think that is his primary punishment. I think is that it's going to be like it's something that always kind of tainted his career for as good as he did, for as much as he did in wrestling for good. There's also that accusation as well, and those allegations, and whether they're true or not, nobody really knows for sure. And like I said, I think he'll meet his ultimate judgment in the hereafter, either way. So that's kind of my thought of why. The reason I didn't want to bring it up on Wednesday was I didn't want to be the first one to do it. That seems kind of strange. But also, I think he deserved the one day to be, praised for his contributions to wrestling. I'm getting somebody spamming me to review Cage Fighter. I don't know what that is, but I'm just going to put you in timeout for spamming me like that. And asking for shoutouts. I don't give shoutouts unless you do super chats, man. I don't read comments really until they're on super chat. Speaking of which, W. Stein asking, favorite YouTube channel owned by a wrestler? Well, I'm trying to think how many there are, because Ethan Page has got his. I've not seen too many of his vlogs, but I like his personality. Darren Corbin's very entertaining as well. You can go check him out. I'm trying to think who else is around who's a wrestler. Simon Miller, technically he's a wrestler now, or he was before he got hurt. Who else? I don't know. I just feel like I don't watch a whole lot of other YouTube channels. People ask me this all the time. What other wrestling YouTubers do you watch? To be honest, I don't really watch a lot of them. And it's not because, like, I feel like I'm above it, or I feel like I don't. It's like the reason I don't watch other YouTube channels is because I don't want to see something they did and then be like consciously or subconsciously inspired by them to do something similar. Because I hate looking at videos that I've done and saying, oh shit, like OSW or Cultaholic or somebody else did a video just like this. A week ago or a month ago or something. I didn't know about it, but I would much rather not know about it and make my own video that's similar and independent of that than seeing something and then thinking, oh, that'd be a good idea for my own video. And then that seems really insidious, and I don't want to be ever accused of doing that, or like be in a position where it feels like I was ripping somebody off actively. I'll gladly rip off people incidentally, unbeknownst to me, but and then it'll come up in the comments section, you stole this from the whatever the fuck, but it's, that I try not to watch too many of them for that reason. Do I watch Ring the Bell? I don't know what that is. I have a movie in my collection called Queens of the Ring, which is a WWE Studios production, but it's French, and that will eventually be reviewed, so that's the closest thing I can think of. Little H2O break there. But yeah, that's my thought on it. I just don't want to ever be in a position where I act, or subconsciously steal somebody's idea. I hate the idea of joke theft or, concept theft. Like, there's a lot of videos that I have done that other channels have talked about, other topics and stuff, other movies and angles and stuff, but I feel that all of our jokes are our own, all of our observations are our own, and that to me is the big difference maker. If I was talking about Champions Beag, then yes, OSW has a legitimate gripe with me doing the same movies they have done. But I've also done movies that, they've not done, or they did exposed Secrets of Wrestling, well after I did my review. So it's like no topic, I think, is something where it's, one person gets to talk about it and nobody else. It's an embargo on everyone else. I don't believe in that. I think if you can do your own observations, then I think everything's fair game. Jeff Mousseau II, $2 super chat. Broski's Wrestling Figure Podcast. Yes, there's Matt Cardona and Kurt Hawkins. BTE. I can't believe I forgot about BTE as a wrestler-owned YouTube channel. Am I doing predictions for War Games? That was in Wednesday Warfare. So if you want to watch my predictions about that, you can go check out the end of Wednesday Warfare. That was a long episode to produce, by the way, because not only did I do a whole thing talking about Pat Patterson, and ultimately I scrapped 85% of what I talked about in the Pat Patterson tribute in editing, but also I had to talk about both shows, and I had to talk about War Games predictions. So I was up until 2 a.m. last night, which is late for me. Let's see here. Have I seen Beyond the Mat? Yes, I saw Beyond the Mat in theaters back in 99, and so I have so little memory of it. I'd like to watch it again and maybe review it someday. Did I see the Hell's Kitchen season with Luna's son? I didn't know Luna had a son. And I've never seen that. I've never actually watched Hell's Kitchen. I've watched MasterChef, and mostly MasterChef Junior, because I feel MasterChef Junior is the right speed for me. It's like, ooh, competitive cooking, that looks good. Oh, but Gordon's nice on the kids. He doesn't yell at them. So that's my speed. I don't like the drama of MasterChef, adult version, grown-up version, or Hell's Kitchen. Oh man. So yeah, I do want to watch Beyond the Mat again. I got a lot of movies that are lined up for me. And I tell you what, one thing that's, speaking of lined up, that I'm really excited for, hope y'all liked my review of Sin, WCW's, what's the word for penultimate, but before penultimate? Is it penta ultimate? I don't know. But it's the third to last pay-per-view in WCW's history. I had a real fun time reviewing that one, and I'm really excited for 2 weeks from now when I review Super Brawl Revenge. That's the penultimate one, and it's been really fun, watching through all of the old Nitros and Thunders leading up to it, because it's something else, man. Seeing what they had to work with all their star power gone, essentially, except for Nash and Steiner and DDP, essentially. Everyone else was not on that level, and so trying to understand what they do with those angles is pretty interesting. My favorite angle right now in 2001 WCW is Glacier returning and just totally snubbing Norman Smiley, who loves Glacier, but he's getting beat up, and then Glacier just totally no sells him. It's he's glad handing the fans and doesn't notice he's getting beat up. So yeah, there's no opportunity to talk about that though, because that doesn't make the pay-per-view. It just makes it onto the Thunder. It's not even a Nitro content. It's Thunder. Yeah, I feel bad for him. Triumvirate, I don't know if that's the word for it, because that's what you call a trio of people. Legfish asking how the tattoo is healing. Tattoo's healed, man. I'm pretty happy with how it's healed up. Strong Bad remains kind of gnarly. I mean, I moisturize the tattoos every day, and everything else looks fine. Strong Bad, for whatever reason, is still peeling. But yeah, I mean, I like how it looks. I like how it came out. It just to finish healing, basically. But everything else is everything else is fine. So I have no problem with it. What's my favorite WCW wrestler theme? It's Rap is Crap. That's what it is. It's gotta be Rap is Crap. No Trogdor. No Trogdor yet. Maybe that'll be in the other arm, right below a W3 logo or something. Will I be back at ROH soon? I hope so. I will not be making it to the bubble for Final Battle next week. I wish I could, but it just didn't turn out that way. But I will be appearing on Final Battle and week by week in the next couple weeks because I contributed something for the show. You can check that out when it happens. Well, I add to the tattoo. I'd like to eventually. Like, my original vision was to have something like some kind of like green and yellow starburst like behind this, kind of like in a circle like that. But like, this is my first tattoo, and I really underestimated how much time everything was going to take. So like, we got these. I'm like, you know what? I think I've ouchies enough. I don't really want to have anything more done to this right now. We can add it to this when I feel the time is right. It took me a long time to figure out what tattoo to get to, because I always wanted like a tattoo, but I never knew what style to get. And then like I see a lot of my wrestling friends getting wrestling masks on their tattoo, but I'm like, I don't associate. It's like Lucha Libre doesn't mean as much to me as these guys did, and like there's like the old grappler style mask and stuff, and so I wanted to find the masks that like spoke the most to me and that were most significant to me. And so that's why I picked Kane and Mankind, two of my favorite masked wrestlers, the Executioner, which is Buddy Rose when he was at WrestleMania 1, and Strong Bad, who is not a wrestler per se, but it was definitely one that speaks to me and probably one of my most influential sources of comedy from growing up. Let's see here, what shop was it at? It was at the Pale Horse Social Club in downtown Reno, Nevada. And Casey Anderson is the name of the artist. Actually, when I posted the picture of the tattoo on Instagram, I tagged him in it, so you can go check him out. He works really well with red, which is really fortunate because 3 of my 4 tattoos are very heavily red. Hey, Professor Finesser, I saw 800 of your texts. I get it. Cage Fighter's an AEW movie. Back in the P corner with you. Put you in timeout. You don't have to say it that goddamn many times. I hear you. Thanks. There's your shout out, by the way. That's 2 ways of getting shouted out, is if you spam the fuck out of me and if you pay me money on a super chat. So there you go. I hope some of you just came in like 5 seconds ago and saw that outburst. I apologize for that. For those of you who are joining in late, let's come back in and I'll bring back the grade in case you missed that. I think SmackDown was a pretty good show tonight. Like, no show is perfect, but the stuff that they're doing that works, it really works. Like the Roman stuff, the Jay stuff, I'm loving what they're doing every week with that. And yeah, the 6-man tag was pretty awesome and a pretty good way. If there's one thing Pat Patterson's known for, it's 6-man tag team matches. So this match was a definitely like perfect tribute to him. Yeah, but it's I think it was cool they brought out the old belt. I thought it was cool that the old Intercontinental Championship showed up there. And yeah, I think it was an okay show, and I'm curious to know how they're going to build with, is it 1 episode or 2 left? It's 2 episodes left until TLC. But War Games is this Sunday. I'm really excited for that. It's only 4 matches, so it's like easy peasy editing for measy. Just got to find the right picture of somebody looking awkwardly at a TV screen to get my... yeah, tag team match play. Like, yeah, they invoked the wrong authority figure. It's like, Teddy Long's not dead. Why are you doing 6-mans? I think William Regal would have a great side gig if wrestlers were allowed to do cameo or without having to pay money to the company. Get William Regal just to shout War Games on Cameo, and I think he'd make a killing. Have him do a side gig, have a side hustle where he could just walk into a room and just bellow, War Games, and walk right back out. Speaking of Cameo, by the way, I'm on Cameo. So if you want to book like a holiday greeting for somebody or well wishes or a pep talk, either as myself or many of my side characters, you can go find me on Cameo as Brian Zane and go check that out. And I will once again plug my book, Pro Animal Wrestling, A Guide to Pro Wrestling, written by myself and illustrated by Jorge Ribe, Captain Marvelous. And these are selling like hotcakes. I had like less than 50 to begin with, and now I'm down to my last 20. So email me, wrestlingwithregret@gmail.com, to order one of these bad boys for yourself or the young wrestling fan in your life. And I'd say it's at minimum 3rd grade reading level is what I aimed for with this. Didn't want to make it too young, but also it was kind of difficult to try and like pare the verbiage down and the explanations of how these matches work. So there is going to be So this week is Sin. If you haven't caught that yet, go check out my review of Sin. It's a 50-50 as to how many people get the reference in the thumbnail, by the way. And then next week, it's going to be... Ooh, should I give it away? Yeah. Next week is going to be all about the NXT 6. It's going to be the 6 NXT stars that got called up at the beginning of 2018 and their journey since then, since getting called up. So that's going to be Lacey Evans, Nikki Cross, Heavy Machinery, Lars Sullivan, lol, and EC3, sad face. And so you're going to see how all 6 of those folks did since they got called up and how that all worked out. And that's what I have left to plug. There's Patreon as well, patreon.com/wrestlingwithwregret. Go check that out for a lot of exclusive goodies. In fact, just last week, I put out a new It Came From Memphis about Kortsia Korchenko, the Mad Russian character that was briefly lived in Memphis. No, Ricochet wasn't part of that call-up, so he doesn't count, neither does Aleister Black. That's a different set of call-ups, and only half of those actually stuck. So that's what you got to look forward to in the weeks to come. You've got NXT 6 next week, Super Bowl Revenge the week after that, and of course this Sunday night, probably Monday morning, is going to be my War Games review. So check that out. Uncle Rico was 2019. Yes, he was. Well, that's going to do it for this stream, folks. Just remember, the Influencer loves you, and let's do this again next week. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.